Hello. We're going to do a little special episode on this. This is still meditation for beginners, but I want to address a common problem, which is crisis mode. And I remember I spent way too much of my time in crisis mode, and I still, it's very fresh in my mind. I still enter crisis mode, and it's not as bad as it was, but crisis mode really gets its own little package. So, what I'm going to be focusing on today in all of my different podcasts and everything I do is really how to go from crisis mode to restabilizing. Now, what's really happening when you are in crisis mode is you're off center. Really simply put, that's it. You're just off center. And the things that determine your center is your beliefs, and basically your feelings or your cognitive core has hijacked your processing, and your fear centers as a result are going way out of whack. So to end this, basically you need to soothe. It's the like step one is soothing your fear. And to soothe your fear, it's going to be different for every person, which is why you can't give a generic, here, do this exercise. How you soothe is dependent upon your coping style. If you are an avoidant, then you're going to need to be soothed a completely different way than if you are a controller. So, first, it's determining if you are a controller or if you are an avoider. What's your coping style? A controller is somebody who has to physically do something with their hands. And a controller, or I'm sorry, and an avoider is somebody who has to basically escape or distract. Now, the problem with avoiding and distracting is you're not actually soothing or addressing the problem. So, if you're a controller, it's basically doing activities like cleaning, doing something to show you that you are in control. So there's going to be an activity that you're going to want to do. If you are an avoider, then it's going to be more like listening to music or doing something you enjoy, really tapping into that love and that joy, tapping into a hobby. And the next thing is going to be literally verbally addressing your fear. Now, I love using Jerry. Jerry is a phenomenal way to visualize this. Imagine this thing inside of your head, the thing that's running around panicking, hysterical, is a Jerry. Imagine this little, weak little dude named Jerry. And Jerry is just fear. That's all he is. He is fear personified. And his job is to run around and make sure you are safe, but he's stupid about it. So he's panicking, he's throwing switches, he's hitting buttons, there's red alarms going off, and he's hysterical. Now, your job as the conscious awareness is to calm him down. To do that, you really need to just soothe him with, like a child, it's going to be okay. I know you are scared, and validating that fear is a big part of it. Acknowledge the fear. It's a huge part of it. When you acknowledge the fear, you validate it. It's like somebody telling you you're not crazy. What you witnessed was real. It's a big deal because part of the fear is not being heard. Part of the fear is not sure if you're crazy or not. So when somebody validates you and says, it's okay, yeah, this is something scary, it confirms that you're not crazy and that you have been heard. So it immediately calms him down, just acknowledging him. So what happens in most cases is Jerry runs around terrified and people ignore it and they try and stay on track. You cannot stay on track. The subconscious mind is designed to take you off track. You're not going to stay on track. So you need to stop what you're doing. Stop trying to, and that's actually a type of avoidant. That's a toxic avoidant behavior, is when you pretend everything's okay and you keep going. No, not going to happen. Not going to work. What you need to do is stop what you're doing because this takes precedence. This takes attention. This takes time. And the longer you try and ignore the problem, the bigger Jerry's fear and panic becomes because Jerry's being ignored. And Jerry's goal is to motivate you to act. Now, you don't want to be his puppet. Don't act. But don't ignore him either. That's the opposite toxic trait. You can ignore him, which is toxic, or you can invalidate him, which is toxic. What you want is a happy medium where you stop what you're doing and you address the problem. And being in crisis mode is a problem. So we're going to start by soothing the Jerry. You're going to stop what you're doing and you're going to sit down for just a moment. And you're probably thinking, I don't have time for this. Yes, you do, because you don't really have a choice in this. If you don't really have the time, then everything you have to do is going to take 20 minutes longer. So it's not that you don't have the time, it's that you are rebudgeting your time. You're taking time away that normally it would put you here. For instance, this is a great example. Let's say you're late for work and you've got to get out the door, but Jerry's going off and you don't have time to deal with Jerry, so you ignore Jerry. You could say to Jerry, I can't deal with this right now. I will talk to you later, but I hear you. I understand. We need to talk about this. And then you go out the door. But if you haven't done that and Jerry is still running around in your head, now you get into a car accident. So now your I don't have time for this has turned into a car accident that you now have to deal with. And now you're 3 to 4, 6 hours late for work because you have to deal with car problems. And that's how Jerry, the subconscious mind, literally manifests itself into the real world. So Jerry has a lot of power, unfortunately. Jerry has a lot of control, unfortunately. So we're going to walk you through how to take Jerry and calm him down. So the first thing is acknowledging him. Stop ignoring him. That's a huge part of contributing to the panic, is you're actually ignoring the problem. Stop ignoring the problem. If you can, stop what you're doing, sit down, and just take 3 long breaths. That's not the solution. The 3 long breaths are not the solution. It's going to be contributing to the big picture of what we're doing here. So start with 3 breaths, okay? And we're going to focus in on that, Jerry. So inhale deep. And if you have that noise in your head, if Jerry's panicking and you're freaking out, just tell Jerry, hey, it's okay. We're going to take care of this. I hear you. Give me a minute. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale and push away everything else that you don't need right now. You do not need. Release everything that you don't need right now. Focus only on the breath. Once more. And release. Now, we're going to have a dialogue with Jerry. Jerry needs words to be validated. And the words he needs, for the most part, are, you are right, you are valid. This is a situation that I can understand why you're afraid. And the magic words are, it's going to be okay. It's not as dire as you think it is. It's going to be okay. Now, you're going to need to say that over and over because Jerry's hysterical and he's probably never been soothed by you before. This gets easier with practice. The more you do this with your Jerry, the easier it gets. I am at a point with my Jerry, level 50. I am at a point with my Jerry where he barely pokes his head up now. And I'm like, Jerry, chill. I know. It's okay. I got this. And then he'll come back down. Okay? Jerry's function is to operate if the conscious awareness is not present. Your conscious awareness has not been present, which is why Jerry's hysterical. So by getting the conscious awareness present, we can turn down the Jerry and calm him down and show him that, hey, I'm going to handle the situation. Okay, Jerry? You can, I got this. It's okay. Now, I'm sitting here talking to you quietly, meditatively in a kitchen after taking 3 breaths. I know it's not really that easy. I know there's a lot more going on and we're going to get to that. But believe me, I know. Okay? Stay with me. So after you soothe the Jerry, what you need to do is activate your defense system. That is why Jerry is awake. Jerry is the backup to a failed defense system. Your defense system is your boundaries. Okay, now you might have a lot of guilt associated with using your defense system. I cover that later. Right now, we're just going to talk about how to get that defense system turned back on. Conscious awareness, that's you, is responsible for running and operating that defense system. But if conscious awareness has been conditioned by parents to not use it, narcissists hate boundaries. Narcissists hate defense systems. And if you have a narcissistic parent, you are most likely conditioned to completely abandon your defense system, which is why Jerry's awake. So once we get the defense system back up and running, Jerry becomes obsolete. Okay? The defense system is made up of only your boundaries. Now, there's two parts to your boundaries. There is stage one, vocalizing your boundaries, using your voice to communicate. The second part is enforcement. So communication and enforcement. Now, this is not going to be easy if you are not in practice. This is not going to be easy or comfortable if you had a narcissistic parent condition this out of you. This is not going to feel comfortable if you struggle with guilt, because your defense system is 100% dependent upon you taking care of you. And if you are conditioned that that's selfish, you're going to feel guilt and it's going to feel really uncomfortable. Okay? But once you get this defense system back up, you're actually using your voice and you're actually putting things out there and you're actually enforcing yourself to protect your subconscious mind so your Jerry can calm down. You're defending yourself one way or the other. Either Jerry's going to do it or you're going to do it. See how this works? Jerry is not pleasant. Jerry's the crazy little dude who runs around screaming hysterically and dragging you along with him, hitting buttons, setting off mental illnesses so you'll cooperate. Jerry's a mess. We don't want Jerry. Love you, Jerry. We don't want Jerry. We want the defense system. So we're not going to call them boundaries. We're going to play a little game, okay? Instead of calling them boundaries, today we're going to call them, let me get my creative brain up here and running. What are we going to call them? We need to change its name. We are going to call them the self-love protection we'll come up with something. So they're not boundaries. It's self-love protection something, okay? So we're going to utilize the self-love package. We'll call it a package, okay? A self-love package, all right? That's what we're going to call it, a self-love package, okay? So the self-love package is going to look like this. You're sitting there. You've got Jerry freaking out. That's your fear, okay? That's your panic. That's your anxiety, okay? We're going to get you right in the dead center, okay? All that matters is what you want. That's really all that matters. What you want and where you belong, okay? Now, in addition to that, we're going to get our self-love package out. Our self-love package is contained of a few different pieces. The first thing is an inventory. We're going to take an inventory of everything inside this self-love package. So the first thing is, what do you want? Now, if you don't know what you want, that's okay. We'll come back to that. The next question is, where do you want to be? Again, if you don't know, that's okay. Okay. The next question is, are you a controller or are you an avoider? And if so, what makes you feel good right now? What really makes you feel good? What is the one thing that no matter how bad your day is going, what can you access? Now, some people are going to be striking out left and right. Some people are going to be like, I don't have anything. I don't have anything. And that's okay. That is how disconnected you are from your identity. So that's like a whole nother level of, we really got to get your identity in here, because your identity is what's going to ground you. Your center is who you are, your identity. The more you are familiar with your identity, what you want, what you love, what you need, the more solid you are. And then once you establish this solid you pillar, then you put up a defense system around it to say, okay, here's the rule. This is life. No one's allowed to fuck with my identity anymore. It's that simple. And it's not that simple, but it is. It's hard, but it's simple. Know the difference. It's hard, but it is simple. So simply, it is just you, your identity, with everything you love, everywhere you want to be, everything that you are, in the dead center stable. And no one's going to fuck with that. That's your defense system. No one's going to fuck with that. You won't let them, because that is your self-love package. Now, there is nothing you need out there. It's all right here. You have limiting beliefs inside of your mind. And those limiting beliefs is what's setting Jerry off. So after you soothe Jerry and calm him down, you need to decrease the pain by becoming stable and grounding. The best way to ground yourself is by meditating. And if you can't meditate because Jerry's out of control, soothe Jerry, calm him down. Verbally imagine him sitting there and verbally talk to him. It's okay, Jerry. The conscious awareness is here, and I'm going to take care of this. And I might not know how to take care of it, but I got the healing garden. We're going to go through this. So chill the fuck out, Jerry. We got this, okay? You calm down. I'm going to be listening to you in a minute, and you're going to be telling me what the problem is. And I'm going to work on a solution over here with the healing garden. And you're going to chill the fuck out, Jerry. Jerry. And you might have to do this a few times, and that's okay. And every time you feel fear, every time you feel panic and anxiety, tell him to just chill out. We're getting to it. Because this is a matter of not understanding and having no patience. So once you understand, then a lot of this is just not understanding, because it's an unknown. So we're going to take that out, okay? So whatever has set Jerry off, he's going to sit down there, and we're going to treat him like he's a 5 or a 10-year-old. Like, imagine a 7-year-old little boy. We're going to sit him down, okay? Now, as far as the identity, for me, examples of the things, these are things that no matter how bad things are, these ground me. And I use One Piece. I use my anime One Piece. I use specifically the arc G8, because that always makes me laugh. I tap into things that are fun for me. I tap into adventure, and I tap into escape. Okay? Maybe I am an avoider. I'm actually both. I have my cat. Okay? I go to knowledge. Knowledge is my safe place. So I do a lot of thinking. I philosophize. I rationalize, and I come up with formal arguments. This is my comfort zone. This is where I'm a controller. And to make myself feel better, I rationalize through argument, and I put things together. So these are some examples. I knit. That allows me to get my hands busy. But they're actions, they're activities. So you're going to have mental things that you do, and you're going to have physical things that you do. Once you figure out your coping style, how do you comfort yourself during bad situations? When you're upset, are you the kind of person who goes and grabs yourself a cup of tea? An alcoholic would grab themselves some alcohol. That's actually a coping style. But it's a toxic coping style, because they needed X and it went too far. I talk about that much later in a different thing. So, but that's a great example of that's what coping styles look like. Everything revolves around our coping style. How we respond to trauma is a coping style. But if you're not aware of what your coping style is, you're going to be all over the place, and then Jerry takes over. So it's part of your defense system is your coping style. Understanding what you need to keep things calm. And when you are in crisis mode, Jerry's taken over. You've practiced none of your coping styles. You've neglected your self-care package. and your defense system is all down. So equivalent, it's like the army has arrived, the bridge is broken or is accessible and down so they can get in. That's your no boundaries. Your wall is completely broken down. They can just climb right over and get that in. And your armor, the literally your physical armor, that's your self-soothing and your coping style, is completely gone. Communications have fallen apart and you've got nothing left. So this is everything in a nutshell. This is where you're standing, and the army's coming in. Now, the problem is you might have some misleading beliefs. You probably do, which is why Jerry's freaking out. The misleading beliefs, and you really can't handle them right this moment. You can if you're equipped. If you're not equipped, you got some work to do first. Okay, you really need to focus on calming Jerry down rather than digging through misleading beliefs. I've done it. You can do it, but it gets messy. And if you're okay with a mess, power to you, go ahead. But so calm Jerry down, and then be aware that the problem is limiting beliefs. Now, fear. Fear is really just a fictionalized future of the worst case scenario. So when we're in crisis mode, Jerry's taken over and he has implanted a single belief inside of your head that think of the worst case scenario. What's the worst possible thing that can happen? Now, imagine it. Fictionalize it. Now believe it. Puts it in your brain. So now you're responding to this fictionalized future of your worst case scenario. Now Jerry is going, see, and he's running around and he's slamming buttons and he's setting off alarms because there's a crisis. Because he's focused on, and he has made you focus on, a fictionalized future of your worst case scenario. So now we're going to pause everything for a minute. We're going to take 3 deep breaths again. And absolutely internalize this. Absolutely plug in all of these little parts to yourself. Okay, now let's take a look at your worst case scenario. Your limiting belief, this one big thing that's sitting inside of your cognitive core right now that Jerry put there. Your worst case scenario. Statistically, those worst case scenarios almost never, ever happen that way. It's a fictionalized future. There is what we're afraid is going to happen, the fictionalized future of our worst case scenario. And then there's realistically, Jerry's not very good at realistically, what is most likely going to happen. So in crisis mode, you are probably completely focused on Jerry's fictionalized future. And you are not at all looking at what will most likely probably happen. Now, when you are looking at this belief, it sends off all these emotions. And those are the emotions you're being bombarded with. That is the cognitive core going, red alert, we've got a problem. We've got this situation that's possibly pending. Jerry hijacked your cognitive core. It's a trick Jerry does. And that's crisis mode. Crisis mode is when Jerry gets into the main control system, decides to take matters into his own hands, and he hijacks the cognitive core with his stupid worst case scenario fear belief, and he plugs it in. I'm going to use that fear belief a lot in the future, a fear belief. And a fear belief is implanted by the fear system to keep you safe. The problem is it's extreme, and it's ridiculous, and it's improbable. But you're not thinking logically because the conscious awareness is responsible for thinking logically. But the conscious awareness doesn't think that it can do anything about this, mostly because the conscious awareness does not know that this is what's going on. So the first thing we're going to do for the conscious awareness, that is you, is inform you, get you some information. That takes away the misunderstanding. That gives you understanding so you can have patience, so you can understand what's going on, so you can calm down. Okay? So Jerry has taken his fear belief and has implanted it inside your cognitive core, completely altering into a new perspective that's absolutely ridiculous. That's okay. Thank you, Jerry. And you're going to step back from that. When you step back from that, you're going to take a few deep breaths. Now, the reason why Jerry took over is because your defense system is down. Somebody violated your safety. That is why Jerry is turned on. That is the core problem here. You don't feel safe. Now, there's two things that are possible. You don't feel safe because you really are not safe because you have a physical abuser standing there abusing you. So take a minute. Right this moment, not 10 minutes ago, not an hour ago, right now. Is there an abuser with you? If there is, you should not be watching this video. If you have an abuser with you right now, you should probably be looking for a way to get out, which I can talk about that later with crisis mode. But for now, let's just do 101. Let's assume, and I'm assuming, that you are actually physically safe. Now, you might not feel safe, and that's a whole nother thing, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But are you safe? Because if you are safe, but you don't feel you're safe, well, that's Jerry. And Jerry is still trying to protect you hands on. And he does that by giving you emotions that are motivator emotions to get you to do something, which is why you're pulled apart, which is why you're falling apart. Now, Jerry has one nemesis, your identity. The identity interferes with Jerry. Jerry interferes with the identity. They don't get along. Jerry just wants to protect the identity. And the best way that Jerry can do this is by throwing the identity away and taking everything over. When Jerry is in charge, your identity is not. In fact, when you sit down and you go through the Healing Garden program, what you're really doing is bringing your identity back into place and shutting Jerry off so your identity can take control. Because it's what you want versus what you fear. It's what you desire versus what you have to do to survive. This is your versus. This is your rap battles. This is what you're up against. They cannot coexist. Fear is occurring because there's a part of your brain, a good part of your brain, that thinks you can't have what you need or want. And you can't even think about this. This is your pursuit of happiness. This is your identity's agenda, pursuit of happiness. But Jerry's going off, going, oh no, I got a pursuit of safety happening here. This takes priority because I'm not safe. Now, trauma makes us think we're not safe when we are safe. That's trauma. So it's reconditioning Jerry, getting Jerry to turn off and say, Jerry, calm the fuck down. But there's a lot of little, and here's the trigger. Here is the trigger. The real trigger is not feeling in control. That is the primary trigger. That is an emotion that we all fear, not feeling in control. And when we feel no control, we panic and it sets off our Jerry. It isn't an item. It isn't an object. Sometimes it can be a person, but mostly it's the emotion of not feeling in control. So when you don't feel in control, that immediately triggers you to not feel safe because you associate no control with not feeling safe. And that's where Jerry comes in. So you need to show yourself that you have control. And you do have control. You have a conscious awareness. It's the conscious awareness that's in charge of control. The conscious awareness, you are responsible for control. But if you're not participating, if you're not active, if you are completely throwing up everything saying, I can't control this, and so you're sitting back rocking in the corner sucking your thumb, you've now turned your control, your authority over to your Jerry and your subconscious mind. And now they're running the show. And they're really bad at it because they're kind of stupid. And the first thing they want to do is throw away your identity because they think that you have a fear problem that's happening right now and you need to get control of your safety. So your identity gets thrown away. because you don't have the luxury of want and need. You're in survival mode. And your control is your conscious awareness, and that's been thrown out. So the first thing we're going to do after we've soothed Jerry is get our conscious awareness stepping up, putting itself in a player position of what's happening here and saying, okay, guys, now I'm in control. I am the conscious awareness. I'm the logical one. I'm the smart one. I'm the one who literally is in charge of this ship. I am conscious awareness. You are a figment of my imagination that I personified so I could soothe your ass down and tell you to shut up. Yes, you're scared, but you're just a feeling. It's just a feeling. So you need to calm down. This works if you have anxiety, and it works if you have stress. Now, those are harder. Well, it depends on who you are, I guess. It also works on guilt. And I will be covering all of this later. But for now, soothe the Jerry. Calm him down. Okay? Conscious awareness is logical and has the ability to outmaneuver all of this. Up until now, we just didn't know how. So then you're going to want to bring your identity back, because your identity is going to ground you and solidify you in right here. So that's what the identity does. It solidifies you. So the conscious awareness steps in. The conscious awareness, you, starts telling Jerry, hey, Jerry, I need you to calm down, but we're going to get identity out here, and she's going to take over. Because what she wants and where she wants to be right now is what matters. So really, what is it you want? Because that's really what happened, is she wanted something and Jerry said no, and the two of them started fighting. That's why you're in crisis mode. That is exactly why crisis mode happens, is because she wants and he says no. And then there's a conflict of interest and the two of them fight. Jerry always wins. Unless you have conscious awareness stepping in using the defense system, Jerry always wins. So conscious awareness steps up. We were going to grab identity by the hand and say, okay, identity, this is where you need to step in. Now, if you're not used to identity being in your conscious mind, if you're not used to identity being a player, and most of us are not, that's going to be a problem. Because we have this programming. Jerry says, no, she can't be there. She can't be here. Because identity triggers Jerry. That's the problem. Identity triggers Jerry. So we're going to have to give Jerry some exposure theory, but we're going to first soothe Jerry down. We're going to pull out our self-care regimen, and we're going to start doing some comforting things to show Jerry that we're safe. Self-care should consist of all the things you do when you feel safe. They are the unique things that you do for yourself when you feel safe. For me, I cook and I clean. I do not cook or clean unless I feel safe, which means if I don't feel safe, I don't cook, I don't eat, and I don't clean. And yes, that sounds as bad as it has gotten. Yes, it is something I do only when I feel safe enough, because it's nesting in my brain. So this is where you're going to really need to dig down and do the homework. What makes you feel safe? What things do you do that you only do when you feel safe? What is your behavior and activity like when you're safe versus when you feel threatened? When you feel safe, you behave ABC. You need to start doing ABC. Even when you're scared, to show Jerry, look, Jerry, I'm cooking. If I wasn't safe, would I be cooking? Jerry is this stupid. Jerry will go, that's correct. Yeah. And Jerry will calm down, because Jerry associates safety with those activities. So that's what you need to be doing, are those activities. And this is, like I said, the more you've been abused, but the more your identity has been abused by third parties, the more you're going to reject your identity. But your identity is the thing that grounds you, that puts you back into balance. Which is why you feel like you're all over and you're misaligned and you're scared and you're confused and you're in crisis mode. It's because your identity is that far away from you. So we're going to start with a conscious awareness. Turn up your conscious awareness. Soothe Jerry. Tell Jerry to chill the fuck out. acknowledge his fear, and have a conversation with Jerry. What are you afraid of? Locate that fictionalized future's worst case scenario, and then show Jerry through logical argument why it's ridiculous, why it is improbable, and what will most likely happen. Is that so scary, Jerry? No. Now, I need identity to come back because identity needs to ground us. And she's the one who navigates the ship. I'm the captain. She's the navigator. And you're the security boy who needs to be guarding the hell or the brig down on lower decks. Like, what are you doing here, Jerry? Jerry is way out of line. Okay? And it's not, it is a discipline. It is a discipline. Meditation helps because when you meditate, you can have this conversation with Jerry. You can focus and get your beliefs back to where they need to be. Remove the toxic belief that Jerry put there. We don't need a fear belief right now. We don't need a guilt belief. We don't need a crisis belief. Jerry just completely hijacked the system. We need to reestablish who we are and what our identity is by pulling identity back. What do we love and what are we grateful for? Because when you start thinking about those things, you start changing your mindset and Jerry becomes smaller and smaller. When you think about what you love and what you're grateful for, identity gets bigger and stronger. Thoughts nourish these people. Your thoughts nourish these people. You can nourish bad thoughts and activate Jerry, or you can nourish good thoughts and activate identity. Positivity is linked to identity. Negativity is linked to Jerry. I can't do it. That's Jerry. I love my cat. That's identity. I am grateful for this beautiful sunny day. That's identity. I love Juanito. That's identity. I'm really worried about my apartment upstate right now. That's Jerry. When you are in downstream, you are with identity. When you are aligned with your purpose, you are with identity. See how this works? When you are upstream and in negative thoughts, when you feel hopeless, you're with Jerry. Your thoughts nourish these two people. You can choose which thoughts to have to nourish which one of them. If you choose to nourish the negative thoughts, the I can't, the worry, the what ifs, now you're nurturing Jerry. Jerry's going to get bigger until you have panic attacks. But if you think about what you love, what you have, and what you're grateful for, then identity is going to step up. And this is going to take time because when you're traumatized, you spend most of your life focused on Jerry. Now, once you get identity in place, you're going to love identity. Oh my God, you are going to love this girl. Well, boy, whomever your identity is. And you are going to want to protect her or him. When you do this, that's when you pull out your defense system, your handy dandy self-love package. And you're going to wrap her in bubble wrap and be like, don't you touch my identity. Don't you fucking touch identity. What I love, what I want, what I need, where I need to be in my life, that's all her. That's all where I'm going. She is showing me where I need to be in life. And whenever I have that conflict of, oh my God, my life is falling apart and I'm in crisis mode, it's because Jerry has hijacked the system. He has put a toxic belief into your cognitive core. He has thrown away identity and she wants something right now. And Jerry has gagged her. Jerry has gagged her. So it's going to take you the conscious awareness. Think of yourself as the parent and you've got two arguing children, siblings. You as the parent now need to step in and exercise your authority to say, all right, guys, we're cleaning up this mess. Jerry, you're out of line. Shut the fuck up, sit down and suck your lollipop. Identity, you need to step in and take place, honey. You really need to step up because what she wants matters. Okay. So that is crisis mode, episode 1. We're going to just, that's crisis mode. We have a lot more going. I'm going to be going over more on coping styles. I need to dig into that really deep and get into our coping styles. I also explore anxiety and stress and addiction, because those are the other three things that really loop it around. And then later, I'm going to be going over depression. But that's really a huge part of it. And when you meditate, you're supposed to be tuning into your identity so you can figure out what's happening with you and where you are, what exactly you want, and where you're going. But to open that dialogue, you need to meditate, which is why we're back to meditation for beginners. Okay, so that's crisis mode, and I will definitely be doing more of these later on to help you get through your crisis mode. And it's not going to get you. It could get you an immediate response. It really depends on. It really depends on a lot of different factors. It depends on your lifestyle. It depends on your traumas. It depends on your personality type. So some people are going to get this and run with it. Other people they might struggle. So try it out. Let me know which works for you and which doesn't, and we'll go from there. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a good day.